Everybody here is just as dead as you. That's why we call it the land of the dead. Are you ready for your big journey?
No.
Hi everyone, how you doing? Welcome. My name is Venom, and I'm here to share with you my experience, opinions, my review of Grim Fandango Remastered.
I'm sick of waiting around for a good lead. Like it's gonna fly in here tied to a brick. It's time to take one.
Written by Tim Schafer, Grim Fandango is a film noir 30s style story of intrigue. It's set in the land of the dead, an afterworld between the living and the ninth underworld. You play as Manny Calavera, an afterlife travel agent who meets the newly deceased and attempts to sell those who live good lives fast travel to the final afterlife, so their perilous 4-year journey can be reduced to a more comfortable, fast train ride. One day, Manny meets the kind and pious Mishi Colomar. He instantly falls for her, but when she suffers an injustice, he begins to unravel a profound conspiracy of biblical proportions. There are direct nods to classic noir movies, Chinatown and Casablanca. But thankfully this is not just a gimmick. It's not just a recreation of the scenery of the genre. Tim Schafer has crafted an engaging tale that draws on the noir themes of corruption and redemption. Whilst it's undoubtedly a comedy, it's peppered with an undercurrent of sadness. So you have a game which seems to be based on an alternative version of 30s New York. Everyone is dead and appears in skeletal form, as well as some demon characters. However, there is a strong Mexican influence running through the core of the game, with multiple characters having Hispanic names, and the depiction of the land of the dead is informed by ancient Aztec beliefs of the afterlife. It's a fantastical high concept idea that melds settings, but oddly it really works because it's grounded in an everyday tale of a put upon man fighting against injustice. And there is also the matter of him trying to win the heart of a beautiful woman. So, I bought the original when it was first released. It came in a nice big LucasArts box with pretty artwork, a manual that had that lovely new print smell, and the game on CD-ROM. I would have pulled it out to show you, but it's lost in an old loft of mine somewhere. So the original game was released for Windows 95, 98, but it's not directly playable on newer versions of Windows without the help of a launcher program, and it has long ceased being available to buy. So to all intents and purposes, it's been lost to newcomers. So Tim Schafer and Sony separately were working to try and bring the game back, and then joined forces to bring this new edition. But it's important to note that the game is labelled a remaster and not a remake or a HD edition. So technically speaking, what's changed? Well, the original had pre-rendered static backgrounds and 3D polygon characters and items in front. In this new version, the 3D character models have been improved, so the textures look so much smoother. There is also advanced lighting which gives a more natural light and shadow on the environments. If you press the R3 button on PlayStation, you can easily switch from the remastered mode to the original to see how they differ and how it's been improved. And it's definitely a good improvement. However, what I found shocking was that the backgrounds had not been recreated. So yes, they are in a higher 1080p resolution than whatever was the res back in the original, perhaps 800 by 600, but don't quote me. But the rendering capabilities of 1998 show their age in these backgrounds that look muddy and grainy and unclear. Also, the game uses the same FMV footage. FMV is the full motion video footage from the original cutscenes. It's likely that developers Double Fine couldn't find the original assets. However, this FMV at times looks atrocious, blocky and ugly. The switch from gameplay to FMV is noticeable and jarring, and I do wonder why this wasn't recreated. Then there is the matter of the aspect ratio, the shape of the image. The original was in 4:3 and the remaster is in 4:3. Despite widescreen being the modern standard, there is no native support. Your options are to play in 4:3 with black borders, or with decorated borders, or a mode that stretches the image to give you widescreen. I've read plenty from some gamer snobs telling you shouldn't play it this way. Well, no, I disagree. You play it whatever way you want to play it. My playthrough was in this stretch 16:9 mode, and yes, Manny Calavera does look a little bit portly, but so what? I paid money for this game, and I'm not joking, I want to see graphics on every single pixel. Now, the PR for this game have taken effort to call it a remaster and not a remake. A lot of gamers have swallowed this line, and I've been reading some of these elitist comments. Things like, you're not a proper gamer if you want widescreen, or a graphical update would have changed it and ruined it. Rubbish, which is especially illogical considering the 3D models have had an upgrade. And the original graphics are still in Grim Fandango for the game purist. Monkey Island 2 received a phenomenal graphical update that keeps it current even today. Grim Fandango would only have needed pre-rendered backgrounds and new FMV, which would have been easy enough to do, which makes me speculate as to why they were not upgraded. And the only reason I can think of is to keep the remaster cost to a minimum. Sorry, Tim. Much as we like to draw parallels between gaming and movies, the truth is that gaming is its own unique medium. A classic black and white film can still be watched today, but the dated graphics in a 17-year-old game will make them inaccessible to all but those playing for nostalgic reasons. You won't likely find newer, younger gamers who actively seek out and play 17-year-old games. Doesn't matter if the gameplay is superb, because the graphics are a barrier to entry. Now, the music is an eclectic mix of jazz, swing, and South American folk music that perfectly complements the mood of the game. For the remaster, the orchestral score has been re-recorded with the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra, which Tim Schafer has worked with before on Broken Age. And if you play with loudspeakers or headphones, you can hear there is a real life and body to it. The original PC game had tank controls via the keyboard, which made it difficult to control. Normally, with screen relative controls, to move right on the screen you just push right on the gamepad. But with tank controls, you have to first turn to face the direction you want to travel in, which can mean turning left 90 degrees, then pushing forward. Thankfully, it has now got standard direction-based controls, and on PC it has regular point and click controls, although I did find this oversensitive on the DualShock 4. Now, one of the trophies and achievements of the game is called The Right Way. Play the whole game with tank controls. Tim demanded this trophy. Now, forgive my sins, but I was going for an easy platinum, so I played with tank controls. Granted, I wasn't forced to play this way, but after Double Fine decided to add screen relative controls to make the game easier for players, why then did Tim impede their experience with this trophy? Granted, it's a wink wink joke by Tim, but at the expense of players enjoying the game. It's backfired. Countless times I found myself moving in a direction I didn't want to, and with the screen camera angles changing, and Manny automatically walking in and out of the lift, I found myself literally fighting with the controls. And even with screen relative controls, there was still a level of imprecision. Puzzles form the heart of graphic adventure gameplay, and if you've played one before, you know exactly what to expect. You pick up every object you can find, then when you come up against a barrier, you see if you can use said objects to get you out of a pickle. Of course, not everything is obvious, and so you have to use some lateral thinking and try and come up with creative solutions to a challenge. Now, I recall in my old Monkey Island Fate of Atlantis adventuring days, the solution wasn't always obvious, and I would sometimes ponder and try a problem for days before I could progress. But I would always be able to solve it somehow. But when I first played the original Grim Fandango, I never got past the first part of the game. While some problems you can easily solve with enough experimenting, there are some that are punch yourself in the face difficult. I'm not going to lie, because I got so ridiculously stuck on 3 to 4 puzzles, I had to look them up on the internet. One was so obscure that even with the right answer, I needed a YouTube video to explain exactly how to solve it. And this is the one in the petrified forest with the sign. The other core gameplay element of graphic adventures is conversation. Talking to anybody you can. It gives you information on what your next actions should be, and it also tells you more about the main story. What I love about the trademark LucasArts dialogue is that it sometimes reveals little nuggets of information that further illustrates a character or the game world. And the characters are so well depicted. Manny Calavera, voiced by Ugly Betty's father, Tony Planner, has a depth and warmth to him. He's a strong protagonist who you can easily relate to.
My name's Gladys.
His sidekick and friend Glotis, because of his humorous dialogue and well-observed animation of his body language, did make me chuckle more than a few times. There is Lupe, the cloakroom assistant.
Hi, Mary!
And she's so chirpy and upbeat, and slightly maniacal. There are the young Angelitos who after hardship experience a happy moment and are absolutely joyous. And there is the woman who has loved unrequited from afar. The characters are not just perfunctory elements to block your progress. They each have their own story. It's all these touches to subsidiary characters that maintains your believability in this fantastical world. Then we come to Mercedes Colomar, Mishi. She is an attractive, kind, dignified character with a sultry accent. Despite having no skin, I found her to be a distinctly beautiful protagonist with an understated sexiness. She ranks right up there with Governor Elaine Marley and the mother from the Dalmio Italian sauce adverts. But perhaps that's not something I should be saying out loud. So, note to self, delete that from the final edit, make sure that's completely removed. I did come across at least 3 major bugs. One game-breaking bug saw me stuck in the casino with the door locked, and the character who I needed to interact with to help me progress was not there, so I was stuck, all because I didn't solve the puzzles in the right order. A sin in this genre because you should be allowed to make mistakes. In this instance, it wasn't too much of a problem because I just loaded up an earlier save, but it did mean I had to play through what I had previously played. Another bug near the end of year 2 was when I was doing everything right and trying to give an item to progress, but for some inexplicable reason, the character did not respond the right way. I tried moving in different places, revisiting everyone. In the end, I had to start year 2 again. And I got the same bug. But after another half hour of experimenting, for some reason it just started working. This of course was very frustrating and a waste of time. So what you should know is there isn't an autosave, not even between the 4 big chapters of the game. So I recommend you save regularly and keep a clean save at the start of each major chapter. Trophies and achievements added to the Mac, PC and PS4 versions can be earned for trying something unusual or fully exploring a conversation with characters, which when I recall playing the original game seems a bit odd to get these arbitrary rewards when the original was all about exploring for the pleasure of being lost in the world. But of course they are a part of modern gaming, and I have to admit I tried to pop all the trophies for an easy platinum. Tim Schafer and some of the people behind the game have recorded a director's commentary where they share their insights and memories of making Grim Fandango.
To Peter Chan, and yeah, I'm still jealous of that guy.
Chan the man.
You can turn the option on in the game menu, and when you see a film clapperboard in a scene, you have the option of listening to a commentary specific to that scene. When playing a game, I personally don't want to spoil my level of immersion and experience, so I will turn it on during my next playthrough. But I would have liked after completing the game to have the option to be able to jump to all the different parts of a game's commentary. If the immersion factor is not really an issue for you, I recommend you just leave it on and you can hear the commentary as you play through. So, is Grim Fandango Remastered worth playing? Nostalgia should not be a barrier to being objective and the truth. My experience was negatively impacted by fighting the optional tank controls. The game-breaking bugs which led me to replaying sections that wasted over 3 hours for me. And some obscure puzzles that I know if I lived an eternal life, I would never have been able to solve. The new musical score sounds fantastic. The improved character models look great and there is a real difference when dynamically comparing them to the original version. This will sell with fans of the original, nostalgic for the old gameplay, and hardcore graphic adventure game enthusiasts. But the decision to not create new pre-rendered backgrounds and cutscenes is a highly disappointing, short-sighted cost-cutting measure that will likely exclude newcomers, which is a real shame because this is a game that should be experienced. Leaving the technical issues aside, I do want to say I'm so happy to have now played and completed Grim Fandango. The game itself is solid and imaginative with a story that seamlessly blends genres. I cared for the main characters, and now the game is over, I will miss them all. I hope you found this video useful. If you have, please press the like button and do subscribe for further updates. Cheers!